author, and more. And one of our great guests that we have on 365 Sports joins us for today's show. And Dan, thank you very much. Craig's on vacation, Paul here, and I'm here as well. Hey, I want to do this because I know you have been against this, and we have too. What were your thoughts a day or two ago when Dan Gavitt released that they would not be expanding the tournament at least for one more year? Was there enough blowback to push this back a little bit?
I certainly think it's helped the blowback. The question I keep asking is who wants this?
Yeah. No one.
No one. Just some coaches who, job security to make the tournament, or that's really it. There isn't a lot of money in it, if any. Those first, what they would basically do is, you guys know, there's the first four right now on Tuesday and Wednesday. There's 2 double headers. Those games get 2 million, maybe 3 million people watch on TV. Depends, if you get a Carolina or something in it. But for the most part, not good ratings. Fine, but there's not like this $100 million or something. So they want to add basically 6 games each day. They want to have 6 games on each day. They want to add 8 games. And so it's not like this is big TV property where you say, okay, here's all this money. When only a couple million people are watching, it's not like the fans are fired up and saying, we want more, right? Obviously, if everyone was just in love with the idea of these early pre-tournament games, there'd be 5, 7, 10 million. I'd be like, okay, I get it. There's no fan demand. There's not a lot of money. It's a really big logistical ask. You basically have to set up 2 new sites. You got to fly people right after the selection Sunday. It's that many teams that they're in the NCAA basketball tournament, but are they? Going to Dayton on a Tuesday night is not the same as getting to go play in a big NBA city or a dome, and you get to, you're at there's 8 teams there, and there's Duke's there or Kentucky. You get to see, if you're just in it. So it's not even really the NCAA basketball tournament. It's this extra thing. There's not fan demand. There's not a ton of money. There's not. They've tried to cook this number, and the NCAA Division I, it's expanded from, can't remember their number, but 310 teams to 360. But most of those teams that have joined are all former D2s and D3s that joined, really low level 1-bid leagues. So at the end of the day, the same number of teams from the major conferences are making the basketball tournament. It's not like they've been knocked out. You get in if you're decent. They had 14 of the 16 SEC teams made it last year. So there's just really no reason to do it. And I think the fact that there's been a lot of pushback and very little sentiment of what are we doing here? And I think you run the risk of losing the magic of that first 2 days of the real tournament, Thursday and Friday. And you confuse fans, and you make it harder to set up an office bracket. The little quirky things that make the NCAA basketball tournament really this slice of Americana that cuts through, right? You don't have to pay any attention you can be at every game, or you can be at no game, and you can still fill out the bracket. And that's the magic of this thing. And so why risk that? So I think a lot of the pushback is actually helped.
I look at the way that they look at it. I think about the Coney Island, the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Look, yeah. Joey Chestnut's amazing. And every year I want to see if he can get to 80 hot dogs. That'd be awesome. But also I do know that the more hot dogs that he eats, the less good they taste. So, I don't think that that's a good thing for the NCAA. You can only have so many before you're like, I'm overstuffed. This is ridiculous. Right.
Right. Because you're asking the hardcore fan to watch 6 straight. Okay, first off, the hardcore fan is already watching championship weekend, right, before, and then selection Sunday. And then by Tuesday, you're dialed in all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, another 6 days. That's a lot of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of basketball. And here's the other thing about access to the event. We already basically have every team in the country is in a play-in opportunity to get into the NCAA tournament, because all you got to do is win your conference tournament. right? So the week before, we basically have these regional play-in things anyway. You could have a 5-win team, and you can win the Sun Belt, and you're in. You're a 16 seed, but you're in. So we already have all these options, and yeah, there's too much there. I didn't think of the Nathan's hot dog part, but that's a good one. I may steal it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of basketball, man. At some point, you're just like, okay, I've seen enough. I don't like the Tuesday, Wednesday now. I wish they go back to 64. I like it's noon, it's Thursday, everyone's fired up. It is a date on the national sports holiday. You own 2 days of the calendar, and that is really rare for a sport. You want that, and you want to be excited for that noon. And it's like, all right, I'm watching at work, I'm watching on my phone, I'm a kid at school sneaking, to watch. I'm taking the day off. I'm whatever. That's a magical moment. You give that up by just saying, oh yeah, we're also going to do it Tuesday and Wednesday.
And of the teams they add, whether it's 4 or 8, will all of them be a power conference edition?
I mean, I would say if they add 8 more, it's going to be like 7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
6 of the 8. It's not. There's always going to be somebody left out that you can argue. They could do that if they go to 256 teams. Someone's going to be like, well, we were the better 6-win team. I mean, there's always somebody. But look, you got all season. Again, you just had a conference tournament. You could have made a statement. You could have played your way in.
Mm-hmm.
I think like why, and I've never gotten a good answer on why, other than it's something to do.
Dan Wetzel, ESPN, with us on 365 Sports.
Dan, everybody's releasing their polls right now. I'm doing one, for content and all that stuff, and the coaches release theirs. What do you think about the viability of polls? And it is very difficult to do now based on the way that everybody used to do them because the rosters changed so much.
Yeah, they were bad. They were pretty bad before. They're like impossible now. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're just we were just doing the college game day pod, Brace Davis and I, and we got to West Virginia. West Virginia has a new coach, Rich Rodriguez, new coaching staff, 52 transfers, 24 high school or JUCO recruits. So they got 76 new players and a new coaching staff. Go ahead and tell me whether they're going to be any good.
Mm-hmm.
I got no idea, and neither does Rich Rodriguez. So that's the extreme. But how do you do this? It's not the same when you're getting guys back. I mean, you can look and you're like, okay, I like Texas a lot. Texas is probably a very viable number 1 choice. How good is Arch Manning? I don't know. He's only played a few games. He's never been a full-time starter. Is he as good as we think he is? Is he good as he projects? If so, they're going to be great. If not, maybe they're not number 1. So it's always been hard. Here's the thing. It's not as important. It was never really important. It's really not as important because you can get into you don't have to be perfect. You won't get boxed out of the playoff. We used to have those years where it's like a third team was undefeated, right? I think it was the year LSU, USC, all that. You could be undefeated and get boxed out, and you kind of needed that preseason hype. Now it's really about how well are you playing at the end of the year. The AP poll, it's great promotion, great historical data. It's a great idea. I mean, they did this thing in 1933. You want to know how absurd it is? Imagine how accurate those polls were.
Jeez.
There was no TV, right? So you were you're getting like the Telegraph scores, scores off the Telegraph or something. I go, oh, look at that Oklahoma one. Some guy in like a newspaper in New York, like, okay, how would you even know? So it's always been a bit of a farce, but I don't think it's not as important, but it's certainly harder now than ever before. Everybody has got key newcomers at key positions. Even the Texas, even the Oklahoma, and the Ohio States and the Penn States, whoever's in your top 5 are counting on newcomers that we've either not seen play or saw play at a different place, or you just don't know. So I think they're less important, but we got nothing else to talk about. Right?
Dan, I'm sure you travel to cover games during the season. I'm not sure if you ever just watch from home or somewhere else where you're traveling.
I do.
Okay. How do you consume games when you are perhaps, if let's say you travel to Ohio State, Texas, or Alabama, Florida State, whatever game it might be, and there's others. How much do you consume now games by YouTube TV, streaming, or by regular TV cable?
So I travel to fewer games than I used to. When you're traveling, it's really hard. I mean, it just is. You can't when you're home, you can watch about as much as anybody else. This is why I don't vote in polls, because I really don't know. I'm not really. It's not my thing. And I feel like it's a little bit disrespectful to the players and the coaches that are putting all this effort in for me to be like, oh, I didn't notice that, there was a late score. Or I didn't see how good that team played because I didn't have the right cable package on my phone, whatever. So I don't do it. I don't vote, but when I'm home, I try to watch as many games as I can. But I also, my kid's got a soccer game or so, I'm going to that. I'm not one of these guys that's dialed in for 14 hours trying to watch 7 screens or anything like that at the same time. But then that's not necessarily what I have to do either. That's not my job.
Right. Dan Wetzel with us on 365 Sports. You did, and you have made comments about the NFL Players Association, David White, the interim, and what a mess that is. How did they get to that point?
Yeah, they've had some. They've not had great leadership the last couple of years, and it hasn't really mattered. But they're going to have a collective bargaining after for a new season in 2031, which is approaching. So they've got some time to get their organization set. But the NFL is hell bent on 18 games and trying to cut the amount of revenue that the players get. I get most fans don't really care what the players end up getting. They do pretty well. As labor union movements go, pro athletes don't get a whole lot of sympathy, even in football, where we know there is a price to pay beyond the thing. But if you're an NFL player, I'm a believer. They need to stop hiring people that want to be on TV and the perks of being the NFLPA president. And if I'm in a union, I want someone who's used to being in, really negotiating in a union. I want some guy from the Teamsters or something like that who's like more about fighting the NFL owners and really caring about the principles of labor than someone who, what they've hired lately is a lot of guys who used to work in management and now are coming over to labor. And I don't know. You kind of got to know what side of the team, what team you're on. You got to be willing to burn all the bridges with owners and not sit there and say, hey, if I go easy here, when my term is done, someone will hire me. Because you're going against the NFL. These are the most powerful businesses and conglomerates in the country, right? I mean, if you're trying to work in corporate America and you anger all of the NFL owners, that could hurt you. So I think they've kind of lost their way a little as a union, but I get fans don't really care either.
Dan Wetzel with us on 365 Sports.